Hey guys, back again. Let's again. I'm going to try and keep these short so they don't take up too much of your time to get through them. So here's Ethereum on the 60-minute. If you look here, this has been a bit of a failure that we were hoping for because we had this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So the break below this prior support area here. If I bring this out, so we're right into that pocket that has been this long-term support here, but we had this double bottom here, so it's disappointing to see that break because we had the potential for this to have started a new impulsive structure with this as our low and our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what we were hoping was that we were now correcting from this low to high. Well, you can see what happened here. So we still, until this morning, we had the long shot potential that this was going to maintain a 2 structure and stay above this low, but clearly that's not happening. So now we got to look at it again in the context of the entire pivot. Remember, we are still internal from all the way from the swing high to the low. So now we're internal within this. We as I've shown it in several videos, we went right to the 786, right to the 100. You see it in purple. That's the alternate price projection of from our swing low down to the high. Now here's this long base of support that we have established here, where you can see it structurally. We found support here, and then we also have the 50%. So if I jiggle this here, you see if I go to my absolute high here, we've gone and just touched the 50, which shouldn't be surprising that we're getting a little reaction there. Now, is that our low? Well, if you're chomping at the bit for a trade, you could start small there. That's not a bad place to be entering. You got great upside because if we're going to revisit this, but then it's getting a little messy here to get a decent count. So are we now going to relabel and just call this some sort of an ugly impulse? The wave count is not clean and clear, and when that's the case, I would tell you, you resort back to the fibs and let the waves show themselves as they unfold. So we can see we get an A, a B, and we get this C wave here, and we're into target. So we're right where you would expect it to go. On the short side. So is there a trade here? Sure, this is tradable. Right here as it sits right here, we've got enormous upside. Just a revisit to this high, there's 8.6 to 1. We've got much higher targets above, right? Even if we just start going to the negative 23 off of this 50, right? That's way up here, so that would be a likely target. That puts it up here. Now we're at 12 to 1. So yeah, you are trying to catch the falling knife there. The more conservative play is to wait for that pivot to establish and look for this, as I have it here, this little 1, 2. So let me blow that up. That's the more conservative play if you don't want to try and catch that, because it's not a well-established low here. But we can see we get nice 5-wave subdivision. We get overlap, so we know it's an ending diagonal, which plays for a C. We definitely can see that, and we hit these targets, and we've wicked the 50. So is that tradable? Absolutely, right? I wouldn't put on a lot of size there, but that's not a bad place to nibble at it. You relatively tight stop. You don't even need to take that much. So now it's 16 to 1. So, when you're trying to pick the low before it's really established, and you're trading it, that's not, just rolling the dice here. I mean, we've wicked the 50. That's a logical place for it to go. We have good subdivision here, but it's a bit confusing on the larger time frame. So if I go over here, now this is the 60-minute on Kraken. I'm over here at the 2-4 on Poloniex, and we look at this. Well, we had this long established strength here that was right in that sweet spot that I often talk about between, here's the 618 to the 65 right here, and we hit it 1, 2, 3 times. Today we break it. Well, now, so where are we? Well, we got to take this channel off. We got to take that off and look at this. And okay, so let's take that little box off. So from this swing here, if I highlight it right here, well, we've just wicked the 786. So that's interesting, potentially a pivot. But then if we, again, as I was showing you before, if we go from this low to this absolute high, then we get a little window here. We get the 50 and the 786 overlapping within a few dollars. So that's a contender. again, if you want to just take a little nibble at it, that's not a bad place to look for a smallish position. If you get the little swing out of this and we look like we might be going impulsive again, then you wait for the second to add on to it. Right now, you're adding with a little bit of profit and the stop below the swing low, so you've got all the upside. You're adding to the size while keeping very modest risk. Okay, so that's a contender on Ethereum. As to what this ends up being, well, it's really hard to call it. And if it's too hard to call it, you're better not to try and call it. What can we say with certainty? Well, we are still internal. We went right to the 786 here, and markets tend to repeat themselves. If they start turning on 786, that's something to expect on the next turn. And look what just happened here. So we are internal here to the 786. Now from here, now it's not the absolute low. From this swing low to this high, we're at the 786. From this swing low here, right, we're still internal to this move. We're at the 50. So not a bad place to be looking for, a little, maybe a first swing at it, right? Nothing says that we have to hold here. We could certainly be heading lower. Here's our next area down here, which would be the 618 to the 786. So it's kind of an ugly day across crypto. There are a few things that are popping, but everything just looks weak. Don't really know why. But, more sellers than buyers. It's often just as simple as that. I don't know if there's any fundamental or news event, or, we do have this Bitcoin fork coming that, with uncertainty can create a sell-off here. So, we just when in doubt, you be more conservative, and there's no reason to be in the market or anxious to get into a trade. Always better to let it establish when you're not sure. Let it establish. Wait for the first little pullback on a smaller time frame. That's the more prudent way to approach it when you have this uncertainty. And we're always looking to be on the long side, and right now everything's selling off. Well, not everything, but most of the market is selling off today. Let's do a quick visit. There's 7 minutes. Quick visit to Litecoin. Another disappointment, right? Because we had this very clean 5-wave structure here. Now we still could hold this as a 2, so we still have the potential for this 1-2. Here's the algo target, right? So if I go from this high to my low here, we come back, we hit the 50, we hit it twice actually. So here's the algo target down here, which would be a very steep 2. But just because it's there doesn't mean that they get it. This could base here. We're at the 786. We've got, it's not as clean. So if we look for a relationship between what we have as an A wave to our B wave, well, we get the 618. So you get a little pocket here. Just what we like to see. A little confluence, a little overlap. We still have pattern. We still have the potential for this to be an ABC into a deep 2, but 2 can very often go as deep as the 786. And of course, with those kind of pivots, we'd want to draw a pitchfork on it. Now we're not, we're kind of in no man's land. So this is where this is a good example, as I showed you earlier. We'd highlight it and start looking to see if we're getting better containment with the other variations. So there's the Schiff. And here's the modified Schiff. Now that looks more interesting. So note how we've just wicked this. So this is potentially a pivot, where we get. So take a look at the confluence here. We have the 786 of the absolute low to high. We have the 618 of the A projected from the B. That's the 618 there, and then we have the median line. So we've got potential for that to be a low, but then we've got the whole market selling off today, and we've got targets down here below. So what's the I won't say necessarily the smarter thing to do, but the more conservative thing to do is wait for signs of that low to establish, and then look for the first pullback, which is, in a way, it's a retest of that low to see if it's going to hold. So that's what I would be looking at. I like that we're getting this structure here at the median line. So a little pop, and nothing says it's short. I mean, it could rip right here. You when you're more conservative, you're saying I am okay giving up this portion of the move for more certainty that I've got a hard pivot here that I can work from. And you just have to look for the clues on a smaller time frame to say, does this make sense? Do I get an impulsive subdivision here? Do I have any confidence that I've got a one wave started here? Because nothing says that we aren't just doing A, B, and then we're in some sort of a diagonal structure here going down to lower levels. Because here's the more common target. If we're going to go do an ABC, it would be 100% of the length of A projected from B. That's way the hell down here. So now with this entire count as a one wave is invalidated, and we got to look at it on a higher time frame. So you go to the 4 hour. Look at that and say, okay, well now maybe we've got to consider our absolute low here to this and look at that. Well, look where we go there. Now if we start to blow this up, we get another pocket down here where we've got this target, where we get this. So down here we'd be looking for it around the median line. So we get that as a potential. So this could be just getting started, and we may end up with something like that. How do you can't say, you don't know. So all we're looking for is probability zones where we can say, okay, reasonable potential that we've got a pivot in here based on this fib, price, pattern, time, all of those components that I just talked to you about. If we get a reaction there, then we kind of wait and see, well, can we get through this? Can we get through that outside edge of the median line? Then can we get through the 50 of the all the way halfway back? Then we've got this 50 to get through. So it just becomes, there's the 38 of this move. Can we get through that? Can we get through the 50? Are we still going? You see, this is as the market moves, these are all potential resistance points that you're going to hit along the way. See, here when we thought we had a 1-2, we had targets here, the little boxes. Well, those are not relevant anymore because that pattern has broken. So we relabel, and now potential zones where we're looking for that confluence are all lower, unless this holds. Higher probability would be down here. Higher probability, but look, we've got this nice confluence here. We're at the 50 of the all the way halfway back to 60. A lot of reasons to look for that to be a pivot. So we wait and see. All right. Questions? Shoot them over to me. I know I move fast here. I'm kind of operating on the assumption that if you need to, that you can stop this, rewind a little bit. You can freeze it and then recreate this. I'll post the chart on Discord so you can recreate it on your own charts and just start to learn, get used to it. As I was trying to say to Cliff, who was texting me sending over some things this morning, you get used to relabeling. It happens all the time. I mean, a day that you don't relabel is unusual, particularly in crypto because of the volatility. So you want to get used to that process of saying, okay, if it's not this, then what could it be? And eventually you're going to get the roadmap, and then it becomes a matter, okay, now I'm on it. Now is it going to hold? And you get those same opportunities based on the new potential roadmap. It's kind of, I always think of it, it's like the GPS, on your phone. Are we towards our destination, or are we recalculating? All right, let me stop it there. That's 13 minutes. I do have a few others to show you, so I'll be back in another video shortly.